We have Avalanche trade rumors escalating as a writer revealed a wild trade scenario that could go down with one of the Avalanche's biggest question marks heading into the offseason. Chris Johnston was mentioned as giving an update ish on Martin Necas and possibly if the Avs could either trade him or possibly extend him regarding basically his entire future here in Colorado. What is up, Avs Nation? This is Avs Digest. If you love the Avalanche and you're a fan of the team in general, come on down and join our family of hockey psychos here at Avs Digest. Only 87.4% of you guys aren't actually subscribed. It's free to do so. You won't regret it. But let's just actually see what this article had to say in general. So this is basically where I got it in general. And yeah, it basically mentions that the NHL insider, Chris Johnston, revealed that Martin Necas could possibly be up for a trade. Now, I personally don't think that Martin Necas is up for a trade. I think that the Avs will re-sign him, but that's what I thought about Mikko Rantanen. So it can change on a dime, guys. But really, it's another Necas trade speculation episode because it just keeps going. And really, they kind of give a reason as to why the Avs could possibly trade with the Maple Leafs as a possible trade partner. Basically, the biggest point that they made was the Maple Leafs are missing their Mitch Marner. They could use a guy like Mitch Marner, a dynamic playmaker, on their top line yet again. And Martin Necas is exactly that. And really, they've been making moves a lot. They were after Jordan Kyrou and Nazem Kadri. They very well still could be. So the Leafs are trying to make moves. They're definitely out here trying to add to their top six and bolster their lineup. And Brad Treliving, their GM, is definitely on the hunt for ways to do that. Now, for the Avalanche side, it could be fairly interesting. There are guys that the Avs could trade for to possibly make themselves better. Now, the biggest problem with Martin Necas is he is the crown jewel of your Mikko Rantanen trade. He's the reason. One of the biggest reasons why you traded him in the first place. A guy on a cheap contract who, even when his extension is due, will make less than Mikko Rantanen and will be an over point per game right winger. And he was just this last season. He had 83 points. And really, that's the best you could ask for that contract value. So the Avalanche would definitely like to hold on to a guy like Martin Necas, but what could they possibly get instead if they want to trade and possibly get a different package? Well, Chris Johnston, the full quote, actually said, the reason his name is out there in the first place, to a degree, is because he is 1 year away from being an unrestricted free agent. So you've either got to be extending him at some point or trading him if you can upgrade him. Now, what would an upgrade look like? Well, this is where a guy like Matthew Knies comes in. Matthew Knies, for those of you who don't know, Leafs fans, I'm sure you know who this is a fairly interesting and young power forward. He's 6'3", he's only 22 years old, and he basically went 30-30 this season with goals and assists in only his second season in the NHL. He actually had some very good statistics and numbers you can see here, a bit expanded. 6'3", 227 pounds. Big guy, definitely a power forward. He's actually a former second rounder in the 2021 draft. So the fact that he's already in the NHL and producing like he is as a second rounder is actually very impressive for a person in general. And you look at his numbers here, and they're pretty solid. You can tell he was playing in the double NCAA, almost immediately hit the ground running in his D+1 draft year. And really, in the NHL, in his first season, he was a quality depth third-line player. And then he took an even bigger step, and he was almost at 60 points. And that's only his second year in the NHL. The Maple Leafs absolutely see this guy as being like a future 30 to 35 goal, 70-point power forward winger, and they're paying him like it. They're paying him $7 million for 7 years. So it's definitely a situation where this could be fairly intriguing for the Avalanche. And as you can tell, I've pretty much done as much respect to this article as possible, I think, to talk about all the points that it makes. They don't actually provide a whole lot of situations as to what the Avs get out of this. But now that we've been as respectful as possible, I kind of just want to rip this article to shreds now and kind of just talk about all the reasons why it doesn't make sense, why either team would do this. why would the Leafs want to run it back with a worse version of Mitch Marner in Martin Necas? I mean, all respect to Martin Necas. I love the guy. I hope he stays in Colorado, but it doesn't really make sense for the Leafs to take on yet another player who has playoff struggles. I don't think it's quite as bad as people make it out to be with Martin Necas, but it kind of doesn't make sense to just run it back again for the Leafs. And really, if you look on the Avalanche side of it, what do the Leafs have that they actually want to trade that the Avs could possibly want? I mean, we're not getting William Nylander, and sorry to tell you, we're not going to get Matthew Knies. They love Matthew Knies over in Leafs land. They think that guy is awesome. They wouldn't have signed him to a 7-7 if they didn't think so. So really, I don't see either perspective on this. Obviously, the article takes into consideration what Chris Johnson said. Martin Necas is potentially being quietly shopped around. That part I don't doubt. We know that the Avs were in on Nick Ehlers. If they got him, I would guarantee you that Martin Necas would be traded at some point. But now that Nick Ehlers hasn't been signed and the Avalanche don't really have another option to sign a high-tier right wing in free agency, I don't see a situation where Martin Necas is traded for anything else but equal value. And it's kind of hard to do with a player like Martin Necas because he's already at such great value. So really, I don't really see the Avalanche trading Martin Necas as much now. And if they do, it's certainly not going to be for whatever the Leafs have to offer. Like I said, the Leafs are not going to part with any of their really good guys. They're also in their contention window. They wouldn't want to. We've talked before on this channel about other options that aren't an offensive forward. We've talked about Martin Necas being traded for potential defensive options, which is fairly intriguing because teams that have good defenders don't really want to trade them unless it's for something good. So in that respect, I could see a Martin Necas trade. But as it stands right now, I think some Toronto fan pretty much wrote this up as, I want to see the Leafs make a trade, and that's pretty much the reason why they don't go in detail about who the trade could possibly be for, what the trade looks like, what either side could get as a return. They kind of just throw it out there as like, yeah, the Leafs want to add Necas. Okay, but why would the Avs do that? No comment. So I would pretty much not really believe that, but definitely believe that the smoke around the Martin Necas trade rumors are real. And Matthew Knies is a really interesting guy. If the Avs do manage to get him, I would absolutely love it. But let me know what you guys think, Avs Nation. Do you think that Martin Necas is going to get traded? Who would you like to see him traded for? Would it be a guy like Matthew Knies, or would you like someone a little bit better? And what are your favorite trade scenarios? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe because things are about to take off in the trades world in the NHL. There are plenty of teams with cap space that need to spend it, and I guarantee you it's going to be on trades. So don't miss a thing coming out of here, and I will see you in the next episode.